What happens when you walk away from a career in aerospace working on the Star Wars defense program to open a taco joint for surfers in Costa Mesa? If you're Wing Lam, you build one of California's most iconic brands, Wahoo's Fish Tacos. But Wing's story isn't just about tacos. It's about culture, courage, and carving out a life of purpose. On today's episode of Making Maverick Moves, we sit down with the ultimate maverick to talk about taking the leap, building community, and how bold moves can lead to legendary impact. My name is Gina L. Osborne, and I'm an Army veteran. I spent 6 years during the end of the Cold War as a counterintelligence agent. I was appointed as an FBI agent, and during my 22-year career, worked everything from Asian organized crime to terrorism. I became the Assistant Special Agent in charge of cyber and computer forensics. And then I came out of retirement and spent 2 years as the Safety and Security Officer at LA Metro. Now, I'm here to help you make your Maverick move. Welcome to the show, Wing.
Nate, thanks for having me.
Well, let's go back to who Wing was. Grew up in Brazil, came to Southern California. You were different, to say the least, and as far as everyone else here in the Orange County area, or just like I was going in my scenario. So tell us about what your background was like and how it became who you are today.
Well, I spent the first, I call it 30-some years of my life trying to fit in, and I've spent the last 30 years trying to be as different as possible, right? Because back in the day, it was all about assimilating, not standing out, just being a part of the tribe, right? And it turns out that in the last 30 years, being different really has its, advantage. People remember you. You're not like everybody else, right? So again, part of the reason I don't have an accent anymore, because I didn't want people to know that I wasn't from, Southern California. So I spent a lot of time, honing in the craft, trying to do all the things that was cool, like surfing, snowboarding, like all the things that I could do just to fit in. Then all of a sudden I realized, you know what, I just want to be me and see what happens. And it turned out to be pretty good.
Yeah, it sure did. But isn't that funny how you spend so much time trying to be like everybody else? Yeah. But do you remember that moment that you're like, you know what, this isn't serving me to be like everybody else?
Well, what's funny is like my parents live on Balboa Island, right? So again, as far as I know, we're one of the few, if not the only Chinese family that lives on the island. And I remember one afternoon in my 30s that my dad said, hey, come down. I need you to go to the store and do something. And I remember literally walking to my parents' house, and my parents had, like I call it, the old wife beater T-shirt on, some shorts. And Asian people, especially older people, have really white skin, white legs. And he had the Kung Fu shoes, black socks before they were hip. And I'm like, oh, my God. And I'm going to be walking with my dad in front of these multi-million-dollar homes. And in that moment, I'm like, well, if my dad doesn't care, what do I care? Mm-hmm. And if you now think about it, like you see all these really, rich people, really successful people that dress very casual. And then you see a lot of guys trying to impress people that don't have any money, and they dress to the T's, right? So the difference is like sometimes, and you see all these videos, people going into a department store or a jewelry store, or like even I call pretty women, right? When you walk in and nobody wants to serve you or help you because they're like, they can't afford this place. It turns out that they can afford more than you think,
That is for sure. Well, and then you made a maverick move where you were working in the defense industry on the Star Wars defense program, which I'm familiar on because I was in the military during the end of the Cold War. So we have that in common. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you decide that you're going to leave that and do something completely different. So what, again, those moments that change our lives, what made you do that?
Well, I had spent literally, which is funny, is the last major contract that I worked on was on the real-time battle management for the Air Force. Mm-hmm. So in other words, is everybody on the same page before we launched those missiles, the Star Wars years with Reagan.
Yeah.
And it was a contract that, we built with another startup company called Sun Microsystems, which is basically the backbone of the internet. So I had options. I had all the stuff. And I'm like, I spent almost 2 years of my life working on this contract. And at the time, it represented almost half, if not more, than what our company was going to do the following year in terms of income. So I thought, hey, maybe I should get a promotion. Maybe I should get, another title, something, right? In addition to, the stock options. And basically they said, we really can't do all this, for you. But, we gave the position to somebody who's more senior. And I'm like, oh, it makes sense. I'm only, 24 years old or whatever at the time, 25. And so I didn't think much of it. And I just, kind of tucked my tails between and just walked down the hall to congratulate, my new boss. Mm-hmm. And as I'm leaving her office, she goes, hey, by the way, I just got this brand new computer. And I looked at it and it goes, oh my God, it's the newest version. And we're talking back when 64, 128 was a lot of memory, mm-hmm. right? And this was the brand new 640, right? And I'm like, wow. And she didn't know how to turn it on. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to spend the next however many years of my life reporting to somebody that doesn't even know where the toggle switch is on the back. Mm-hmm. So I literally went behind the computer, flipped it on, and I literally walked back to my boss's office without even hesitating. I goes, here's my 30 days notice. He goes, what do you mean? I goes, I spend 10 hours a day crunching numbers because I was the financial analyst. And I goes, and I'm going to be reporting to somebody who doesn't even know where the on and off switch is. Yeah. I mean, how's that possible? Mm-hmm. I mean, she managed government contracts, but she had never created a proposal. Mm-hmm. And my boss goes, you're crazy. He goes, what are you going to do? I goes, I don't know, but I can't work for somebody that doesn't know how to turn on a computer. Mm-hmm. And I went home and I, talked to my friends and they're like, you are crazy. So I spent about 6 months like thinking about it, like doing some research. And my kid brother was getting out of college ed. And we started talking. He goes, hey, what do we really enjoy? And I goes, hey, mom and dad has always done well in the restaurant. Why don't we do that? And like, well, what kind of restaurant? He goes, well, what do we like to do? We like to surf, right? And we have a lot of friends that skate. We got friends that, do all the other stuff. And we thought, hey, maybe we can have a place that's themed around action sports. We had no idea what we were doing, by the way, mm-hmm. but we thought it was a great idea. Mm-hmm. And at the time, remember, Hard Rock Cafe, Rainforest Cafe, Planet Hollywood, all these places that were themed were becoming popular. And we thought, why not have a place for action sports?
Wow. And that is really remarkable when you think about how, looking back at all of the success that you've had, but just to come up with that idea, were you afraid?
I don't know. It was just one of those where I didn't like what I was doing. Mm-hmm. And my kid brother's coming out of college. I'm like, hey, this is not really, corporate America is not really as much fun as it seems. And, Ed and I goes, hey, what about surfing? And I'm like, everybody talks about having a place to eat fish tacos, but nobody's ever built one. Mm-hmm. So we decided to say, hey, let's give it a try, but we can't just have fish. We got to have other options because not everybody eats fish, right? So we had the basics, and we literally opened the doors, and people started coming in slowly, and we're like, hey, we might have something mm-hmm. we didn't know. But then all of a sudden, you have that moment in time where one of the guys that used to be my kid brother's boss, Mike Lesher, that was the head of sales for Billabong, came in one day jokingly. He said, hey, you guys are still here. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, I was here the day you guys opened, and it was total chaos, but things have settled down, and you guys are still in business. And I said, yeah, we're here. And he goes, hey, I noticed that you guys wear a bunch of T-shirts and shorts to work. How'd you like to do a walkthrough at Billabong? And I'm like, sure, we'd love to come over there and get some stuff. And we literally got 7 pairs of shorts, 7 pairs of T-shirts, and 7 hats from Billabong. And my entire crew the next day is wearing Billabong. And we looked like a bunch of surfers. And literally the rest is history. We never looked back. We became the unofficial surf and sport restaurant for the industry. And largely because my kid brother Ed knew a bunch of these guys, and they didn't put the 2 and 2 together because he goes by Ed Lee and I go by Wing Lam. They didn't know we were brothers.
Oh my gosh.
And because different last names. Mm-hmm. And I just kind of go, hey, Ed, isn't that such and such? He goes, yeah, you work with him here. I work with him there. And they all came. He goes, oh my God, Wing, this is awesome. And he goes, would you guys, want to partner with us and do events? And I'm like, sure. And literally, I had no idea what event marketing was, but we learned, we started doing trade shows, concerts, all kinds of stuff, and one thing to another, and we just, everywhere there was something going on in the action sports space, we were the people there providing the food.
Wow. Did you purposefully go into this surrounding yourself with a community? because I mean, when you look at it, you created a little niche. Okay, these are going to be our customers, the surfers, the skateboarders. So did you go into it saying that as long as we had these people, we were going to be okay, or did it just sort of happen that way?
It kind of both happened. I mean, I've aspired to do that, but it wasn't, if my kid brother Ed didn't help, it wouldn't have never happened. But once we kind of got the ball rolling, we started going, hey, we're going to do an event. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And people are like, well, have you ever done them before? It goes, well, how hard can it be, right? So a surf contest, a skateboard contest is really no different than a tailgate at a football game. It's just food and people, just different sports, And what was the difference between that and a concert? Just different people, right? So we started doing, and at the same time, it was always the same thing. It's food, beverages, hospitality, all coming together. And either was a pre, during, or after. But people needed to be entertained no matter what. You needed to eat in order to drink, and you want to drink while you're eating. So it just kind of happened.
Did you have any major challenges as you were trying to get going? I'm sure you did, but any one that you would want to tell us about that would help other people?
The big thing that I would say these days, as much as we all want to take information at face value, check up on them. Like if somebody's done something, it's probably they've done it before. So they either going to repeat it, try to do it better, or they're going to try to take advantage of you. You got to figure out which ones are which, right? So early on, I would say that there were some people that were like, they talked a lot. I call it a great game. Turned out that they didn't deliver on their part of their promise, right? So we figured out really quickly, figure out who those people are. Because, I mean, it's okay if somebody says, hey, I'm going to use you. Great. At least I know that. But imagine if somebody came to you and goes, you know what? You're really beautiful, but I'm only going to date you until I find my wife. Would you date that person? You're like, well, what am I? Chump change, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not good enough? No, you do just fine until I find my wife, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to be with people like that. You want to be with somebody who goes, hey, I think you're great. Maybe there's a future together. Maybe there isn't. But at least we're both on the same page. We're going to give it a try.
Yeah.
But not like, hey, I'm going to use you until I find the right one. I'm like, excuse me? But most people are never going to tell you that.
Yeah.
And I think in the world of dating and business and all that, you just got to figure out, are we going to mutually benefit? Or are you just going to use me until you get to the next, bigger client, right?
Right.
And I'm totally okay being your girlfriend as long as I know that that's what you're doing. But if I know that that's not, and I'm aspiring to be your future significant, I want to know, And I think not a lot of people believe in that. I'm like, oh, go ahead and just use me. I'm like, I don't think so, So just make sure that you check on people's background and what are their true intentions.
Right.
Is it going to be a true win-win for both of us? Or am I going to just be used until they get to the next one, right?
Right.
And I'm okay being used as long as you tell me, goes, hey, I'm perfectly fine.
Yeah.
You don't like Asians? I'm great. I'll be your best friend until you find that right person for you, right?
Right.
But a little transparency is all, again, just be honest, right?
Yeah.
With your intentions. And I think not everybody is.
Right. Well, the one thing that I've noticed going to your restaurants, and I grew up here in Orange County, is that there always seems to be that guy that you see every time you go in there. And there's this, again, going back to the whole community, the surf community, the skate community. But, back in a time in the 80s, I'm sure, where not a lot of restaurants were making it past a year.
Yeah.
Did you know that building that team and inspiring that loyalty was a thing back then, or did it just sort of happen?
It just happened because if you've ever been in an environment, right, there's two things, right? If they pay you enough, you'll put up with almost anything. But if they don't pay you enough, but they treat you well, you're like, you know what? I wish I could make more, but they really take care of me. So it's that balance, right? Money and respect, and the whole community thing. So I always thought, hey, but what if you paid somebody well and you also treated them well? Then you create the sense of, legacy. You have all the stuff that it's a community because we're all rallying around each other, right? So we always have each other's back. And that's what I've always thought. You know what? If I can create that, I think they'll stick around. And it's worked.
Yeah, for sure. And, I don't think a lot of people who are just starting out really think of it the way, and it seemed so effortless from our perspective, watching you, right? And the way that you did things. But, you started, hanging out with these brands and interacting with these brands, and that just grew you bigger and bigger. So how did these sponsorships and these brand relationships really help put Wahoo's on the map?
Well, because imagine, if you're trying to capture, let's say, the surfers, and all of a sudden you're able to use the Quicksilver logo, the Billabong logo, all these brands to say, hey, not only are we affiliated, we're actually like doing things together. So there's a difference between like putting something in your hand and actually drinking it, right? Because anybody can hold something, but using it means integration. Right, so we do have a relationship. So when you would see a U.S. Open of surfing and the kid winning the championship coming into our restaurant right after, people are like, whoa, did you pay that kid to come? I go, no, his sponsor brought him in, right? So all of a sudden you're seeing this give and take, I call it. We're not just there feeding them. They're coming into the restaurants and say, hey, thanks for coming. When I won that championship, you were there. So I thought it'd be my part to come in and see you at your actual establishment, right? So it was this mutual admiration and respect where they would see me supporting them, they turn around and supported us. So that's the part that it's a win-win when you're going out of your way, but it comes back to you because everybody's doing their part.
Right. But how often do people do that?
Not enough. Right. That's the problem. Because everybody's in it to, hey, right here.
Yeah.
And they forget to do the other part.
Right.
So when the word, win-win means you got to do your part, they got to do their part, right?
Yeah.
But so many people are so self-centered. And then they wonder why the relationship doesn't last, right? And why do marriages break up? Well, because it's a one person doing all the work, right? It takes two to stay married.
Yeah. I heard you say that when you're really good at something, you get to hang around with people who are really good at things. So how has that been part of your business? And then also as all of the other things that you're doing with all of the philanthropy?
Well, it just turns out that, great talent, we all have, musicians wish they could throw a ball better. Guys that throw a ball better wish they could surf better. So there's this mutual admiration for skills. So people admire people that go, oh my God, you're really good at that. Well, you can only say that to somebody and get the respect back when you're really good at something else. So all of a sudden you find that you're as good as the people that, the talent that you're surrounding yourself with. So you can't help it when you're really good at something. You're going to find all the people that are really good at whatever they do to want to be in your team, in your surrounding, in your events. Because when you got 10 people that are really good together, just everybody elevates. And when there's 10 people that are really talented, everybody's going to know at least 10 or 20 or 30 more. All of a sudden, the group just keeps getting bigger. The events get better because people are like, how did this person get here? Goes, well, such and such knew him, right? And how did we get in here? How did we get invited? Well, because we knew such and such. So you are, good or bad, a reflection of who you hang out with.
Right.
So if you want to hang out with a bunch of turkeys, people are going to go, yeah, there goes another turkey, right? But if you hang out with really talented people, you can't help but to be surrounded yourself because everybody goes, oh, I want to be a part of that. And that's how you attract more talent because everybody wants to be a part of your party.
And that's always been how I've built teams because my success is based on building a great team around me and we're all successful. That is so powerful. And the synergy that builds with that and the creativity and the innovation that comes with that is just so awe-inspiring.
Because everything's positive. Because you're like, oh, but what about this? And you go, oh, my God, I didn't think of doing that. So all of a sudden, everybody has their little input. And like you said, the 10 people thinking together is like, whoa. And you're going to go, oh, call such and such. And all of a sudden it goes, oh, my God, if we had this, it would be better. It goes, oh, there's such and such over here. So all the talent and resources that are coming together just makes everything better. And then everybody's surrounding you going, oh my God, how do you do that? It goes, well, because they knew this person, they knew that girl, eh? And together, we're all having more fun. And everybody wants to come to where all the fun is.
That is a fact. That is a fact. So Wahoo's isn't just a restaurant, it's a lifestyle, right?
Yes.
And I think if people, entrepreneurs, companies, if they built that lifestyle in, I don't think you see that a lot. Or if they have a lifestyle, it's just not branded that way.
Yeah.
So what is your magical branding strategy that really, I mean, again, makes it look so effortless, all of the success that you've had, but really it's just basic human kindness, right?
Yeah, it's just being there, right? So the first question is shouldn't be, well, how much money am I going to make? Or what am I getting out of this, right? Just ask us, well, what are you guys doing? And if I came in, how can I make it better? And when you can start here and move up, people are going to go, wow, what's the difference? Goes, well, Wing came in. So then the next person goes, well, maybe I should ask him the next time I'm thinking of doing the next event, right? So you can't help it but to make things better. So whenever you can make things better, either by working harder, coming up with a better solution, or coming up with a different way of doing the same thing, I call it, right? You can't help but people always coming to you first. Because, hey, Wing, we're going to be doing this. What do you think? And you're like, oh, what are you guys trying to do? He goes, this is what we're trying to do. He goes, well, what about trying a couple of these things? They go, oh, interesting. Because it's never one solution fits all, right? So if you come in with a couple of options and somebody goes, oh, I may try that. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, goes, you know what? It didn't work. Okay, let's try something else, right? But the idea is everybody's open because we don't want anything to be worse than the way we came. We want it to be better. So if your attitude is like, how do we make it better? People are always going to be coming to you because, hey, this is what I was doing, but because of her, this is what we're doing now.
Right.
You're going to get those calls.
Right. What kind of leader are you? What is your leadership style? That is what I'm totally curious about, just because I hear it's all about empowerment.
Yes.
So what type of leader are you to your people and your organization?
I'm all about, hey, I know what I am doing. I want you to do what fulfills your bucket. So how do I help you become a better leader, right? And they always say, if you surround yourself with really smart people, you technically, if you're doing more, then you hired the wrong people. If you're doing a little bit less and you're empowering your people to do more, right? So I'm all about, hey, show me how to do something better. And I'm not going to say anything until I say, hey, you're right. Or you know what? Your idea is not as good as I thought it was going to be, but maybe we need to tweak it a little bit, right? So I'm never going to come down on anybody for trying, but I'm always going to go, hey, did we think it through, right? Because sometimes your idea, it was one that was bad, we just didn't think it through. Because you go, if this isn't working, we just got to pivot a little bit, right? So always empower your people, always give them the freedom to do what I think they will take ownership of. Because when you own something, pride of ownership takes over, right? And now they got skin in the game, and they're more apt to want to follow through to make sure it succeeds.
And that is so important in whatever you do, whether you're working in the security, in the restaurant business, or in customer service, is allowing people to be creative and to be innovative. Because so many times you see micromanagers who are, leading out of fear. And what does that do? It just makes people tighten up. It doesn't make them be the best that they can be. But just listening to you gives me goosebumps only because it's such a powerful leadership style, is to serve your people and get them everything they need to do their jobs. Yeah.
So some ways you can be like a parent, right? Tough love. You can't always, baby your baby. Well, they're never going to grow up, right? If you want people to grow up, you got to let them grow.
Right. Right. So what about mistakes? Do you allow your people to make mistakes?
Oh, yeah. I mean, like I said, but how quickly can you learn? How fast do you realize, I go, you know what? That wasn't such a good idea. And it happens to the best of us,
Yeah. So the loyalty with regard to your brand, do you see that continuing over the years, or has it changed?
You know what? There's a lot more options. So today, more than ever, we have people, we got to look at people and give you a reason to believe in what we do, what we stand for. And I think one of the biggest things is the amount of give back we do and how involved we are in the community. And I challenge most other brands that are in my space to say, do you do that much for the community you're in? Because yes, we're all in it to make money. We're all in it to make a living. But how much of it do you give back? So I'm constantly challenging all my neighbors and friends. Because, you know what? It's a free country. You can do whatever you want with the money you earned.
Yeah.
but what would be one of the right things to do,
Yeah, and that came out more than ever during COVID.
Yes. Yeah.
So do you want to tell everyone about how this beautiful, amazing California Love Drop was created?
Well, basically, we lost 85% of our business within 2 days of non-essential businesses shutting down, right? So we were like, oh my God. So we had a lot of perishable, because we make fresh food, that we were going to throw away anyway. So I went to my kid brother, goes, hey, I got a couple of friends that work up at, hospitals in Long Beach. Can I go and deliver some food? He goes, we're going to throw it away anyway. Go for it. So I made 4 hospital deliveries. And after the 4th one, things kind of like, okay. And my brother goes, great that you repurposed what we were going to throw away. But let me remind you, we lost 85% of our cash flow. We can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, what do you mean? I mean, they need our help. He goes, well, you're going to have to find a way to fund it. And in that moment, it's like things happen for a reason. I got a phone call from Wendy at KLOS and goes, hey, everybody just got furloughed. There's nobody doing anything. And I just figured out that you are out doing something that you're not supposed to be doing. And he goes, well, what do we need? I goes, well, we need money. He goes, well, we can't say money for Wahoos because you're a business, but what if we were to create a nonprofit? And I says, well, I'm open. She goes, what about the California Love Drop? I'm like, sounds great, Wendy. And he goes, and what about if we get the radio station to create a GoFundMe for you guys? And I'm like, why are you going to do that? He goes, well, we got over 1 million listeners. They're all sitting at home. And if you're not asking for a lot of money, so they can just donate $5, $10. I'm like, that'd be great. So the radio station, I said, we're going to do this. And they were the first. Heidi and Frank actually gave us $750 so that we could get smaller spray bottles to put the big jugs of the hand sanitizers into smaller spray bottles. And then so we could give those out as well with the meals. So we started dialing for dollars. And then next thing I know, my buddy Charles from Antis Roofing goes, hey, why aren't you open? I'm like, didn't you see the news? Everything is downsized. Hours are shorter. We're barely going to be open, right? And I'm like, but what are you doing? And he goes, what do you think I'm doing? I'm at home. I goes, why don't you come out with me to do a delivery to a hospital? He goes, you're out of your mind. I go, no, come out. And he goes, all right. So reluctantly, he came out. And after a couple, we ended up at Chalk together at night. And in that moment, a couple of the nurses came out and said, hey, by the way, Charles, thank you for doing what you're doing. And Charles goes, what are you talking about? He goes, remember a few years back, we took care of your premature babies? We are the same nurses. So thank you. Wow. He didn't realize that they're the same.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, Charles goes, I can say thank you to the people that took care of my kids. I'm all in. So then all of a sudden, the ball started moving. So Charles started calling all his vendors, his landscaping company, his HOA security company, and they say, hey, what are you guys doing? They're like, nothing. We're all at home. I goes, come on out. There's this crazy guy, Wing, and we're going to go out to hospitals and deliver food.
Wow.
And supplies. And they're like, you're crazy. And one by one, they started coming out and seeing. So it helped me prevent shutting 4 additional stores because we lost a whole bunch already in LA. And I helped all my friends kind of keep their jobs in the businesses that we're in. We partnered up with Monster Energy Drink, Hint Water, Yogurtland, and started going out and making deliveries to hospitals, police departments, fire department. And even today, we're still going out to charity golf tournaments. We take care of the volunteers. We've done, I don't even know how many toy drives, backpack drives, all the things in the community. But instead of just being Wahoos, it's the California Love Drop and a team of great volunteers.
Yeah. But do you see that it's that community, it's that network that Wahoo's is famous for, that you're just kind of permeating it out to the rest of the world?
Yeah. So basically, instead of us being just Wahoos, I say, hey, it's going to be this new name, and all of us will put our logos on the collateral material. So it's this team effort. And most recently, there were a couple that decided that they like to work with animal shelters. So I said, we're going to pivot the model a little bit. So instead of you delivering food first, You're going to deliver pet supplies first, and then we're going to come in with the food later.
Yeah.
And they are 2 weeks into their program. They love it.
Yeah.
And they've never seen so much, I call it gratitude, that they get when they show up to these shelters. And people are like, oh my God, you brought us cleaning supplies, you brought us dog food. And they're like, this is awesome. So it's that, not just writing a check, but actually delivering and seeing the people's gratitude and smile.
So what do you get out of the deal? What really drives you to do this?
It's just the ability to say, here is a charity that was doing this. And because we came in, now they're able to service more people. They're able to give better gifts to their clients. They're able to find a better environment for their people, right? So it's just, again, the same model. It's always making it better, right? They can service more. They can do better, whatever it is that, service that they're providing, right? So for us, whether it's the Boys and Girls Club, the Boy Scouts, whatever organization it may be, the question is always, what are you doing and what would you like to do? And how can we come in and help you guys do it better?
That's remarkable. So you do a lot of speaking,
Yes.
and you do a lot of mentoring.
Yeah.
So in this day and age, fast forward 2025, what's the biggest lesson that you're teaching people right now? As far as whether it's going into business or service, what is the biggest lesson?
Just the whole thing is, not just the paying forward, right? But learning skills, that are going to be valuable, because with AI literally knocking almost every job under the sun, you really have to be able to think on your feet and be creative on how you think. Because if you're not contributing to the solution, AI can do your job, right? So you got to think. And AI can't think. AI can do things that you tell it to do. It can follow orders. It can search for things. So given, like, hey, if I was going to do this recipe, give me 10 options on how to do it, they can do it. AI can do amazing. And you as a chef are like, ooh, I don't know if I can do more than that. But AI can't do something that doesn't exist. It can find things that already exist. So again, creativity means you got to find new ways to do the same thing in a creative ways. AI can't do that, right? So how you add value is by being creative, thinking, this is how it's been done. How do I make it better, right? So the idea here is like learn to be creative and learn to network. Because when you have 10 people thinking together, is a lot better than one person trying to, how? You can't. But when you start bouncing ideas off of each other, you're going to go, I didn't think of that. So the critical thinking comes from communicating. And you're not going to be able to do that via text. The face-to-face interaction, because then when you're reading people and you see people's reaction, or bad or good, you're going to go, they didn't like that. But you can't see that on a text, right? So the whole human interaction, key to our future, and also being able to decide the difference between AI and creative thinking.
And that's the challenge. And I think a lot of people who rely on ChatGPT or whatever the AI source is, that they're losing a lot of their own creativity by letting somebody else think for them. So if you were starting over in 2025, would you be able to do what you did in 1988?
I don't know, because today you have this, I call it a whole social media component. But again, at the core of it, when they say what's really good content, creative, original, user-generated, that hasn't changed. So whether you're a good quarterback 25 years ago or today, you're still the man if you can throw that ball. So at the end of the day, there's a lot of posers out there that go, I got 10 million followers. But it goes, will they really know you? Do they really admire you? What have you accomplished other than somehow collect 10,000, a million, or whatever number of followers that may be? So there are people that are real athletes, real musicians, real people that have earned the respect of the community they're in. And there's other people that I don't know how they amass those followers, but they're just like, I find it interesting. Well, I don't know what that really means, right? Did you actually accomplish something, right? So I think the difference is the people that accomplish things, that actually do things, they're going to have real followers, they're going to have real influence, as opposed to somebody who just people think, oh yeah, they got 10 million followers, but why? I don't know.
Right. Why do you think it's so hard for people to land on that one thing, Wahoos, or the Scrub Daddy, or whatever that one thing that is out there that is really, really successful? I think a lot of people have that problem. It's like, well, what should I do? What am I good at? And we don't give ourselves credit for being good at so many things. Yeah. I think that's kind of where we lose, is that we don't recognize our strengths and capitalize on those.
The interesting part is, believe it or not, is there are a gazillion taco makers in this country, right? But the fact is that the way we do it, not the actual recipe, but in the environment that we're there on the snow, we are there in that skate park, we are there on the beach, right? We're there when it actually happens. So for most people go, wow, why would I want to do that? Because that's the authentic part. You're either on the beach or you're not, right? You're either in the skate park or you're not. And more important, there are a lot of people who goes, well, but I know a bunch of skaters. And I'm like, well, have you ever been at a skate park when they're actually having the event? And most people goes, well, I didn't know you could do that. Well, that's the difference, right?
Right.
So I always tell people there's a difference between performing and watching. Everybody can go to a football game, but very few people can play it, right? Or play and get paid for it, right? That's even less. So the whole idea is there would be 100,000 people at SoFi Stadium, but there's only a couple of hundred on the field, right? And of the couple of hundred, there's only about 11 playing at a time on either side of the ball.
Yeah.
So I think the numbers get really finite. So to be one of those 11 at any given moment, you got to have a certain skill set that is just so far above everybody else, right? So again, at every level, you can say, well, how close can I get to that so that people are going to be watching me and actually paying me for my services? You may not be able to throw the ball, but maybe you can catch it. Maybe you can block it, right? So there's all the different skill sets that require for somebody to win a football game. Well, in life, these days, if you're a great mechanic, you're worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because if you can work on a car that doesn't have a chip that you can't just plug in and tell you what's wrong with your car, that's a very, very valuable skill set today.
Yeah.
Especially with so many people driving old vintage cars, right? So these are all the things. I mean, landscapers that can take care of that beautiful garden, it requires a skill set because you want to make sure everything is alive, everything is beautiful and green. Right. So these are the things. So if you have that skill set in whatever it is that you do, you're going to get paid well for it.
And I think when you look back at how I'm looking back at how you did it, that authenticity that you had, because when you created the menu, it's not your everyday tacos.
No.
You're bringing Brazil into it. You're bringing Asia into it. You're bringing all of these things. And the fact that, you had those skills because your father was a chef and you grew up that way. So, but those are things that you didn't necessarily choose. They were in your life. However, you had the courage to be authentic. And I think that was probably a very big part of your success. Yeah,
like I said, we were different. And because in business, they tell you, if you're just another me too, why would they want to change? So if you're going to do something different, you got to give them a reason to want to change as well. So one of the big things for us is we say, hey, we're going to be healthier, right? Instead of frying the fish, we're going to grill it, right? Instead of stewing the chicken, we're going to grill it. So we purposely chose things that were different, mostly because I wanted to be healthier. That was really the main reason. It wasn't because I thought it'd be better. Trust me, I thought, oh my God, what a great idea, but it's going to be so much more work to do it this way, right?
Right.
But I just thought, hey, this is how I like to eat. I'm hoping that most people want to eat healthier, so let's figure out how to make, healthier and still taste really, really good, right? Because at the end of the day, we all know from those days, there's a lot of vegetarian places that are no longer around because they might have been a great idea, but it tasted like, cardboard.
Yeah, for sure. And you've had celebrities come in and do franchises?
Yes. So we had Travis Barker from Blink-182 early on. He still has a couple of our stores.
Wow.
We had other friends. Jeff Conine that played for the Marlins, won 2 World Series. At one point, he was one of our investors in Fashion Island. We've had other, friends in the business, guys from O'Neill, guys from Hurley, just, different partners. But it's always been about fun, And if we can make some money while we're doing it, what the hell?
Yeah. By the way, what's your favorite menu item?
It's still rice and beans and fish tacos.
Of course it is. Okay, so all right. So what continues to inspire you today to continue to do what you do? Because it sounds like you're really, really doing a lot with your philanthropy. So what inspires you today?
It's always the gratitude, right? So when we just recently, one of our volunteers, Pam, we happened to be out in Salt Lake City for the Summer X Games, and her boyfriend's daughter, who happened to be 42, because again, we're getting older, right? So our friends are all in their 60s and 70s, because we've all aged out. So she happened to be a huge fan of one of the bands that we were friends with at the X Games, Sublime. So we didn't tell her. We just said, oh, yeah, we'll get you some tickets. And then the next thing we know, we invite her to come on stage with us and actually meet the guys in the band and actually be 2 feet away from the band. And for somebody who's 42 years old, she had never been on a stage before in front of 10,000 people. So did it make her day? Yes. It was a bucket list for her. It was amazing. And for us, it was like we were just working and they say, hey, we're going to go watch this band. Why don't you come with us? We didn't bother to tell her we'd be watching from the stage,
Oh, my gosh.
So these are those moments that we play really, hard, but we work really hard to get there.
Yeah. And so what do you do for fun?
For me, it's like I got a 10-year-old that I love, like using junior lifeguards. So chasing that little runt around is awesome, going to the beach. Just doing things with him, experiences. We just got back from New York, had a great trip, where he's, got to see the Macy's fireworks up close and personal. Mm-hmm. So things like that, I'm hoping that he'll remember, when I'm older, and goes, hey, my dad was crazy enough to do these things for me. And because of his ability, his network, the people he surrounded himself with, So at the end of the day, it's not the money, it's the experience that I'm able to share with all my friends and family members. So that to me is what keeps me motivated because I'm always thinking, wow, this is fun, but how much more fun would it be if we did this?
Yeah. Do you have any dreams, any goals, anything that you want to share?
To me, surfing warm waters is always a fun thing for me to do.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So you still surf?
I still surf.
Do you take your son with you?
Yes, I take him. He's not as good as I want him to be, but that's okay. As long as he's having fun.
That's amazing. Wing, you are truly an inspiration, and I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Making Maverick Moves with Gina L. Osborne is produced and edited by Zill Media. Connect with us on social media at GinaLOsborne.com/Making Maverick Moves. Don't miss an episode. Subscribe to Making Maverick Moves wherever you get your podcasts.